Sawadee Krap, I'm JP Mestanza. Welcome to Phuket Extra, brought to you by PSD Windows and Doors. Today was the day officials were set to discuss the emergency decree, its possible extension or expiration, but that's been tabled for Monday, and now more talk is centering around restarting international travel in Thailand as the country looks to welcome foreigners in the coming days. Thailand is gearing up for their travel bubbles program, in which they enter into agreements with countries that are said to be COVID-19 free or have at least contained its spread. And so far, Japan and China are reportedly among the countries targeted by Thai officials to have agreements with so foreign tourists can arrive here. Before the outbreak, Chinese nationals accounted for the majority of international tourist arrivals in Thailand and tourism revenue as well, both at about 28%. Public health officials are telling the Bangkok Post that reopening the country will be risky, even if they come from areas deemed free of the disease, and that the arrangement must be very regulated with restrictions on free travel around the country. The guidelines for foreign tourists returning to Thailand will be discussed on Monday, but what is certain is that almost all of the people in the first group of foreigners allowed to enter Thailand must be quarantined here for 14 days upon arrival. For more, visit thephuket.news.com. 4 new coronavirus cases today in Thailand. All of them are Thais returning from abroad, as no local transmissions have been announced for 32 days. The new total for the country is 3,162, with 96% recovered and no new deaths. Phuket cases are still at 227, with 3 total deaths since the outbreak began. Officials are telling the nation not to drop their guard, however, saying, quote, "No matter how many days have passed without a local infection, it does not mean that there is no disease." All of today's cases were returning from the UAE and Sudan. Meanwhile, globally, COVID-19 cases are at 9.7 million, with just under 492,000 deaths. Immigration officials are changing the rules governing the TM30 form that property owners have to fill out for foreign tenants. Right now, Section 38 of the Immigration Act stipulates that the owner of the property or hotel has to notify immigration officials of the arrival of a foreign guest within 24 hours of that arrival. It's called a TM30 form, and they had to do this every time the foreigner would either leave the country and return or temporarily leave the property to a hotel and return, since the owner had to always register the foreigner every time. After complaints online about the frequency to which this had to be done, among other issues, the Immigration Bureau is changing the law, saying property or hotel owners who take in foreigners as guests only need to notify officials within 24 hours the first time they arrive, and not if they leave the premises temporarily or when they leave the country and have multiple entry visas or re-entry permits. For more, visit thephuket.news.com. A former police officer in Phuket who disappeared 17 years ago after being accused of luring his then 13-year-old neighbor to his house to engage in indecent sexual acts, he's finally been caught. Back in 2013, Pech Kutachon was a cop at the Thai Chat Chai police station at the northern tip of Phuket when it emerged that he seduced his 13-year-old female neighbor and allegedly engaged in sexual activity at his home. When the parents found out, they reported the incident to Thai Chat Chai police, and an arrest warrant was issued. But the 56-year-old at the time, he fled and changed his name, disappearing for 17 years until this week. On Wednesday, CSD police learned the man formerly known as Pech, he re-entered Phuket and he was picked up in Wichit, where he had been staying with his work colleagues. He's now at Thai Chat Chai police station, where he worked all those years ago, and will now face prosecution. It's been 8 years since the heir of the Red Bull empire, the second richest family in Thailand, killed a Thai police officer on the street in Bangkok, and he's never spent a day in jail. And now the Anti-Corruption Commission, the National Anti-Corruption Commission, is saying that some of the police who handled the case are guilty of, quote, mild dereliction of duty. Back in September 2012, the Red Bull heir, Vorayut Yuvidya, known as Boss Red Bull, he drove his Ferrari into the back of a policeman's motorcycle going 177 kilometers an hour. And in trying to flee the scene, he ended up dragging the body of Police Sergeant Major Wichian Klampraset for 100 meters on Bangkok's Sukhumvit Road before speeding away. Police Sergeant Major Wichian of Tonglo Police Station was 47 when he died. In the aftermath, he was picked up by Tonglo Police and later released, with prosecutorial hearings scheduled. but Boss Red Bull delayed them 7 times, never showing up, coming up with different excuses each time until April 2017, when he was finally charged with reckless driving causing death and failing to help a crash victim, among other charges. That's 5 years after he killed a cop and never facing justice. Now, the NACC, the National Anti-Corruption Commission, have investigated what went on after Boss was picked up by Tonglo police initially, back in 2012. And don't forget, it's the same police station in which the victim was also working at. The NACC investigation concluded that several officers in the Tonglo police station had intended to exempt Boss Red Bull from prosecution in relation to charges of drug abuse and speeding, including the chief interrogator, the former chief of Tonglo police, 2 of his deputies, with more violations for failing to guarantee a thorough investigation and interrogation in the case on the part of the former commander of Metro Police Division 5 and 2 other former deputy commanders. The NACC described each of these violations as, quote, a mild malfeasance, despite the fact that a man was killed and dragged in the street with no inkling of justice for 8 years. In fact, Boss Red Bull has been spotted at sporting events and other activities abroad. And that's it for Phuket Extra today, brought to you by PSD Windows and Doors. For safe, secure, and soundproof windows, visit pvcphuket.com. We'll be back on Monday with all the news you missed. Until then, stay classy, Phuket.
Hey, อะไรวะ
คุณมองเห็นอะไรไหมครับถ้ามองไม่เห็นเดี๋ยวเราจะย้อนภาพให้ดูทีละมุมถ้ามองจากรถที่อยู่ด้านหน้าคุณจะเห็นชายขี่มอเตอร์ไซค์ตามมาด้วยความเร็วปกติถ้ามองจากคนที่นั่งอยู่ข้างทางคุณจะเห็นชายขี่มอเตอร์ไซค์ผ่านไปด้วยความเร็วปกติแต่ถ้ามองจากคนที่ขับรถตามหลังมอเตอร์ไซค์คันนี้มันติดไม่มีไฟท้ายก็เหมือนไม่มีคุณอยู่บนถนนตรวจสอบไฟท้ายให้ใช้งานได้อยู่เสมอ